Hi, I'm Emily Wright with Tempest School of Classical Horsemanship. Here with Cavessons Ivy, also known as Toby, as my model. Before we go into our series on the work in hand, I'm going to first show you how to pick a cavesson for the work in hand, what makes a good cavesson, what you should avoid, as well as how to adjust it. So this is my cavesson that I use on a regular basis. It is made by DP Saddlery. What I like a lot about it, if we can look a little bit closer, it is padded very heavily here at the front. It also does not have a joint at the center. You do have the side joints here on either side. What I love about this especially is you have two buckles, one on either side of the crown piece. And I also like very much how this is a lot narrower where it goes around the horse's nose. So all of those things make for a very good cavesson. The adjustment of these jowl straps is also nice and low, so it fits a wide variety of heads. This is the second cavesson that I use a lot. As you can see, it only has buckle on one side of the crown piece, which is okay for most horses, but I kind of like having the other options with the other cavesson. Jowl strap is also nice and low. You've also got a nice backer behind the buckle. You have the same features that the center of the noseband does not have a joint like a lot of cavessons do. You really want to avoid that joint if possible because it can have a nutcracker effect on the horse. But you still have the hinges on the side. What I'm less thrilled about with this cavesson, the center ring does not swivel. I also am not as happy with how the metal is all exposed, so it's a lot more to keep clean. It also is a little bit more fragile. You only have these little pieces holding it together. It has not broken yet, so we're still good there. This also being brass, it should hold up to regular use, but with time the metal may fatigue a little faster than steel. But otherwise, very good cavesson. This is usually the second I recommend. It's made by Busa is the brand. You can also see a tag on it someplace that says soluble. So usually if you Google one or the other, these are sold in Germany. So you can usually find them on Amazon through either the UK or Germany. This is my other cavesson by Soluble. This is actually my pony size. As you can see, I have it adjusted as big as it can go for a very large pony. It also has, if you look at the noseband, very squishy noseband. It's more covered, so I really like this design. I also love, especially for ponies, that you can adjust this jowl strap up and down. It has a simple Chicago screw, very simple to adjust, and I love how this swivels because it makes it a little easier to put on the horse. Same things about it that I'm not as thrilled with as my first cavesson with this particular brand. The brass and the fact that this does not swivel. I really like for the center nose ring to swivel. This also has no hinges on the side, but when you're using it on a pony, there's not as much room to have a swivel. So this is cavesson number 3. This is cavesson number 4 here. This is a traditional Portuguese cavesson. This is actually my oldest one. I've had this one for about 10 years now. What I like about it, the center nose ring does swivel. You've also got the jowl straps that are also attached where they can turn. Things I don't like about it as much. The noseband part is not padded. So you have to be really careful with this cavesson. I only use this on very few horses because this lack of padding can make it a little bit strong. I'm also not as big a fan of the big buckles because they tend to get in the way more than anything. Even though they look very pretty, they're a little too big to be very useful. But otherwise, this is a very good solid cavesson. I'm not sure that the brand is still made anymore, but you can find a lot of these on Iberian tack websites. So this is a good enough option. It also does not have the hinge in the middle, which is very important. You also have 3 rings, which I use pretty regularly. I like to use the side rings for special applications with different horses. You can use a Cavesson that only has 1 ring, but you're not going to have as much versatility with it. So adjusting the Cavesson, putting it on the horse. This, we'll take 2 different views. We'll do one from straight on. We'll also do a view from the side. This is where a lot of people get hung up with on using the Cavesson. A lot of people have less than great experiences with Cavessons because they don't always know how to adjust them, and so they end up with some different problems. But those of us who use these on a regular basis really love these for all kinds of different purposes. Very useful for the work in hand, for lunging, and much more. So to adjust this, I'm going to take my lovely model, and I'm going to put the halter on his neck. Safety first as always. Okay. So this Cavesson was not on him last, so this shows you how you adjust it from not fitting a specific horse. I'm just going to bring this over his head, and you see this sits really, really low on his nose. So I'm going to take this up a couple holes either side. Okay. So we want about 4 fingers above the nostril as we adjust this, just like you would for a drop noseband. So you always want to do the noseband first and before you do the jowl strap back here, because that way you have some control over the horse. I don't have a line on him right now so that you can really see how this works, but if I were to have a line to hold him, and if he were being a little bit silly, I'd want to have that control. So then I'm just going to buckle this noseband. So this is where a lot of people get into trouble, is they adjust it a little bit too loose. So here's a little loose. You can see it turns on his face far too easily. He's not very thrilled about that. So you want it adjusted pretty snugly so that this doesn't turn. So you can see this is still not quite tight enough. So I'm going to adjust it one more hole. So now this isn't moving. It's moving his head, it's not moving off to the side. You might even be able to get a little tighter, but if he were wearing his bridle, that would take up some room under this. So then the jowl strap, this is impossible to really get too tight. Its main purpose is to keep the Cavesson from getting into his eye and causing an injury there. So you can get this adjusted very tightly so that no matter what happens up here, neither side is going to come up into his eye and injure him there. Now here we have a side view on how this looks from the side as if you're putting it on yourself. So again, I'm going to take this, put it over his ears, over his head, check the measurement. We're 4 fingers above his nostril. Now I'm going to put it back at the hole where it was. Again, we don't want this to rotate a whole lot. So actually that was not the correct hole. I'm going to tighten it up one. Because this is so padded, you're not going to really hurt him having it very tight, as long as you can still give him some sugar or another cookie through this. But it can hurt if it's too loose. It can rub and create a blister. So then we'll put that up there. And then the jowl strap. So you can see how close this is to his eye without this attached. So that's where you want to attach this rather snugly so that it's not coming into his eye. So either side, it's not coming anywhere near his eye. And then tuck this.